So from the initial trailer, I just remember telling myself, holy moly, this looks really stupid. I gotta go see this just to indulge in its stupidity. And also because as much as I enjoy watching all of the Oscar bait movies that are coming out at this time of the year, many of those movies do delve into deep or serious topics that we as humans do face on a daily basis. So it's just nice to just shut your brain off once in a while and just have fun. And that's basically all I wanted from this movie, nothing more. Alongside this being Ray Liotta's last acting role before his untimely passing last year, farewell Ray Liotta, you shall be missed, and I shall always remember your acting role as yourself in B-Movie. Inspired by true events apparently, I just had to go and research it to just find out what exactly was fact or fiction when it came to this adaptation of a true crime event. How far did this adaptation go when adapting its source material? Let's dip our nose into some cocaine and snort our way right into this. God, that's so fucking cheesy. Who writes this? Cocaine Bear. God, what a title. An oddball group of misfits, cops, and criminals cross paths in the Georgia forest as a black bear goes on a murderous rampage after ingesting and inhaling copious amounts of cocaine. Let the shenanigans ensue. So first things first, I'm sure you're all just asking and wondering what the hell really happened with this case. I went ahead and did my research, so here it is. Here's at least the closest I can get to gathering what was actually documented. So in 1985, an airborne smuggler, most likely high on cocaine, it was the 80s after all, hurled out duffel bags filled with cocaine out of a plane passing over the southern states. Next thing, the police investigators discovered a 175-pound black bear dead next to one of these duffel bags with about $2 million worth of cocaine that had been opened and scattered all over a hillside. The parachuter, a former Kentucky narcotics dealer, fell to his death in a backyard in Tennessee. The unmanned plane crashed into a North Carolina mountain, and the bear overdosed over in Georgia. None of the other duffel bags were ever found, and the bear never went on a killing spree. That's about the extent of the true story there. There was no rampage. Well, technically nobody died from the bear. People did die, but it was just cokeheads, not exactly bear attacks. So for the writers to adapt this event into a horror comedy, honestly is a pretty refreshing approach to a movie. I'll give them that. I'd rather watch fresh and original ideas like this rather than the copious amounts of sequels and reboots we've been getting nowadays. How many other movies exist where an animal does drugs? Exactly. So even if this movie just ended up sucking ass, even if this movie's jokes just did not land for me in the end, even if this movie was just painful to sit through, I can still appreciate and nod the original take on this movie. Now, I don't have a lot to say about this movie. It's a simple, sweet premise of lost family members fighting each other and narcotic dealers tugging over cocaine with the law, alongside with just a wild card that is Bear just rummaging and just causing havoc with whoever it encounters. Just like something you'd find on an Adult Swim cartoon episode. The elements that did fall flat for me were mainly in the human character / performances and the mixing of just different tones. So to start off with the character and performances, the first act had me really nervous because prior to the bear becoming the main threat for all of our characters, I felt like we were just spending way too much time establishing and building these characters up, most of which were clearly written to be intentionally annoying and even borderline cringe, I would say. I was really concerned because the amount of screen time we were spending on them just felt way too much for comfort. I'm fine with establishing dumb human characters wanting to escape with Bear high on cocaine, but when you spend too much time on just those human characters, that is when I start to get very bored, or I just start to get antsy because I just want to see these people escape from a cocaine bear already. That's what I came to see. Now, what made them so annoying to me was just their one-line zingers. It was just a tad awkward. And besides the writing quality of these jokes, I noticed that it was the editing as well, which is very odd because it's not usually the case when it comes to the flow of jokes not landing. For some reason, the director and editor decided, or maybe unintentionally, had pauses between some of these punchlines that just made the conversation pace feel so slow and unnatural. It just felt like it was the same logic behind older sitcoms, you know, the ones with laugh tracks. If you take out the laugh tracks, it can be very, very awkward because it feels as if they don't trust the audience to get the joke right away. Therefore, it just assumes that we need an extra second to ponder, process, and get the joke that was just delivered. In my case, with my ADHD, I'm able to collect and gather jokes coming at me super fast, so maybe that's just my fault for having ADHD. So with the kid actors, about half of their lines just felt forced and unnatural, but half of their other lines came out just fine. They felt believable and they felt like they were delivered correctly considering the circumstance they were in. So I don't know what exactly happened there. I don't know if it was just because the director was easygoing on set there, or maybe this is exactly what Elizabeth Banks wanted. Yes, Elizabeth Banks directed this movie. I was caught off guard in that opening credit sequence. And as for a group of rambunctious teenagers that find the cocaine and go ahead and stash it themselves, I was just very confused because these actors just did not look like teenagers at all. Maybe teenagers from a Netflix teen drama show, but in this case, these are clearly people in their mid to late 20s. So I would say those were the big standouts that somewhat bothered me or distracted me. Every other character served the story just fine, and they sold their moments of fear and panic whenever the bear was out. Now, the particular characters that I would say did stand out to me in a good way were the older chief cop with his getting too old for this shit attitude. His line deliveries just landed for me, and I found myself laughing at a majority of his lines. And of course, Ray Liotta playing one of these narcotic dealers hunting after the cocaine because he needs to get it, or else the people he is working with will just end up killing him. But I would say he stood out to me for like the wrong reason. It just felt like his character was in an entirely different movie, like one's about the drug cartels or the mafia. His character was just such an over-the-top dick to everyone, but you can clearly tell that Liotta seems to be putting effort into his deliveries. It's as if he was just auditioning for another Scorsese gangster film. It just felt jarring, and it just messed with the overall tone of this movie for me. And just seeing him get torn to shreds by the mama bear and her cubs by the end just felt so bizarre, because this is the last role he is in. We are just seeing this actor just get brutally murdered for the very last time on screen. This is where his legacy finished off. It's just so interesting to think about. Now on to the star role, the bear. At first, the visuals on the bear did look questionable to me, with it going against the live action scenery, and I was a bit worried that the VFX on the bear would remain this way. But as the movie progressed, the bear was starting to look and appeal better to the eyes, so either my eyes just adjusted to the CGI, or the visuals did actually improve. Now I expected the bear to be the star of the movie, and for every scene the bear was in to be absolute gut-wrenching entertainment, and it was. Whenever the bear was just on screen doing its rampage, I was on board, and I was having a blast. There were some legit tense-clenching moments, where it was clearly setting up a bear jump scare, but in this case I'll excuse it because it's played off for comedy purposes half the time, I think, at least. And it just seemed like this bear was just absolutely invincible against every single thing these human characters would throw at it. Next to nothing was able to slow down this bear. And the gore that was displayed with every fatality was just oh so glorious. Everything with the visual effects, makeup, and prosthetics, they were all just fantastic here. Now, I've never done cocaine, but I would say weed culture played a heavy influence here. This just felt like a classic stoner comedy at times. It definitely seemed like a concept the old Seth Rogen and James Franco team would absolutely be in. I would say the other element that took me out of the movie with the characters was just the shifting of different tones. Some of these characters solely exist for us to laugh at due to their idiocy, while other characters had established motivations or backstories that are supposed to grant sympathy points from us. Now, the only type of emotion I actually got from one of these characters was just the old chief cop's dog. That's it. Just sympathy and hope for this dog to find an owner. How about that? The dog. The cute dog I cared for more than any of the human characters in this movie. I mean, I'm sure none of you guys blame me. And so to see just some of these characters' issues get resolved by the end, I honestly couldn't be more indifferent about it. I will gladly root for that dog before wanting to see humans spared by a hilarious bear fatality. Overall, I had fun. I had just a fun turn your brain off moment. And with the constant 80s soundtrack this movie had, I can only imagine how much fun this movie would be to watch while under the influence of substances, some legal, some not. Now, if I had to reach for straws and try to snag a deep theme or at least any sort of message from this movie, it would be just simply man versus nature. Who's gonna win? Obviously nature. And if you're gonna put up man against the bear's gonna win. The bear is always going to win. And just when you think mankind can't be more stupid. 6 out of 10, stupid, fun, gory time with annoying or confusing characters and clashing tones. Stay off drugs, kids.